Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, I am going to show you how to getting started with Filmora 9.3, latest version of Wondershare Filmora video editor. This tutorial is designed for beginners who are new to editing video, and don't know anything about Filmora. I hope it can help you save your time learning the software, and make your first video faster. I will put the link to download Filmora, and my discount coupon codes in the description. Don't forget to check it out. Let's getting started now. Here I have Filmora 9.3 installed on my computer. Let's open it. Here is the start page of the program when you open it. There are some useful information here. Firstly, you can select your project aspect ratio at this drop-down menu. There are options for widescreen 16:9, Instagram video, portrait video, landscape video, or cinema video. It's important to select correct aspect ratio so that you don't have to change it later in the main editing interface again. For this example, I will select 16:9, which is the most common aspect ratio we're currently using now. If this is the first time you open the program, go ahead to click this button to create a new project with Filmora. Click here to open your recent projects. There is a list of recent projects at this area for you to select too. For this example, I will create a new project. Here you're in the main editing timeline of Filmora 9.3. It's similar to other video editors on the market. On top of the window, you can see Program Toolbar menu, which lets you access all the features of the program. Underneath the toolbar menu is 7 main categories of Filmora 9 where you can access to its important functions right here. These are the categories you need to visit all the time when editing videos with Filmora 9. I will show you how to use each category in the next parts of the video. Moving to the right of the window, you'll see the preview window, or playback preview window, where you can preview your media, or watch again your project while editing. For example, when I double-click on a video in the media library, it will be displayed on this window. There are buttons to control the preview playback at the bottom of this window. This is play and pause button. You can hit spacebar on your keyboard to play and pause too. This button is used to move one frame forward, and click this button to move one frame backward. Here is the option to set in and out point for the media before drag and drop it onto the timeline. Use I for in point, and O for out point. You can adjust in and out point by moving this icon too. Then click and hold your mouse cursor on the preview window, drag it to the timeline for further editing. At the corner of the preview window, we have an option to select playback quality, which is very important if you're editing video on low-end laptops. Here you can select preview at full quality, half quality, and 1/4. Reducing playback quality can help you reducing laggy issues while editing videos. This camera button is used for taking screenshot of the video you're showing on the preview window. Once you took a snapshot, your image will be imported into your media library automatically. Click here if you wanted a preview in full screen mode, and press this button to go back, or hit escape on your keyboard. Finally, you can also change the size of this preview window by moving the edge of the window. It will make your preview window bigger, or smaller, depend on your need. I will reset it to normal in this example. Okay, now we will look at the main editing timeline. This is the area where you assemble your clips and images. I will try to explain everything about this timeline before showing how to make a real videos with Filmora. If you've already known it, you can just skip to the next parts with the timestamps I put in the description. Firstly, this timeline is where you need to drag and drop your video file, or image on it. On top left corner of the timeline is undo and redo button. I guess you know what they are used for, right? This little trash icon is used for deleting any selected thing on the timeline. For example, I can select this clip, and hit trash icon. If I want to restore it, I can hit this undo button, or Ctrl-Z on my keyboard. Here are other function buttons when you have your clip selected, which I will show you more detail when jumping into the editing process of the program. Each button has its own function when editing videos in Filmora 9. Let's move to the top right of the timeline where you have this render button, which is commonly used for rendering everything on the timeline so that you can preview everything smoothly. For some reasons, my render button did not show up while I recording this part. I think I should restart the program now to have it works. But, let's finish the timeline overview first. Next to this render button is marker button, which is normally used to mark a position of the video track, or music track on the timeline. It's especially helpful when you want to edit to the beats, or mark your important footage on the timeline. You can also double-click on the marker, add your comment, as well as change the marker color too. By doing this, you can easily know what is the footage about, and where you can find it on the timeline. Next to the marker button is record voiceover button, which is commonly used for making tutorial videos, where you want to add your commentary to your tutorial. This function can be accessed right at the media library too. This is the audio mixer button, where you can access to Filmora master volume control window. Click this button when you want to show everything on the timeline. Being noticed that you can also hold your left click on top of the timeline and stretch it out like this too. This slider is to move left or right to view your timeline. Click this button to see everything on the timeline as I said. You can also zoom in and out the timeline by moving the slider. Okay, let's take a look at the beginning of the timeline on the left now. In this area, you have this little plus icon, which is called Track Manager button. On the right side is Auto Ripple Edit button, which allows you to change your normal delete action into ripple delete while editing. Once you click on the Track Manage button, you will be able to add more video track, audio track, delete empty tracks, as well as adjust track height here. Being noticed that Filmora 9 allows you to add up to 100 video and audio tracks on the timeline. It's helpful when you have multiple layers in your project. Sometimes, you don't need to click on the plus icon. Just right-click on this area and you can have the same pop-up menu to control your tracks on the timeline. At the beginning of each video and audio track, you will have some options to lock your track, hide a video track, as well as mute an audio track. Let's bring down a music track onto the timeline so that you can easily see these functions. For example, I can click this lock icon to lock this video track on the timeline. Then I will not be able to move this track anymore. This action is helpful to avoid unexpected movement while editing videos. This eye icon is used to hide the video track so that it will not be displayed in your project. To mute an audio track, click this speaker icon at the beginning of the audio track. Being mentioned that it will mute everything along this track. You can also lock this audio track by clicking on this icon. Alright, I think it's all you need to know about the user interface. Let's edit a video sequence to let you know how the program works now. I will explain more detail about each feature to help you understand exactly how you can create your first video project with Filmora 9 after watching this tutorial. We're back to the workspace now. First thing you may want to know is the media library, where you can import your videos, audio files, or images for further editing. These folders are divided into four main categories, i.e. the project media is where you can import your footage, create your own folders. This shared media category can be used for other project. It's a new updated feature of Filmora 9. Being noticed that you cannot delete or rename these default folders. Let's import some footage to this library. There are two ways to import your media for further editing. You can click this import button, select the files you want to import, and click open. The other way is to drag and drop your file directly to this area, or to the timeline. Both ways have the same result. You can select view type, sort the media like what you can do on your computer here. Another way is to import your media files directly from your recording devices such as your phones, or camera. At the main workspace, click the Import drop-down menu. Select Import from a camera or a phone. A pop-up menu will appear once you select Import media from a device. This is the destination folder where your media will be imported. Once you imported your media files, they will be stored here. You can also change this location if you want. Don't forget to check the empty space on your computer to avoid interruption when importing media files. As an example, I will import some files from my phone to Filmora media library now. Now I will connect my phone to my computer so that the program can recognize the device and scan my media files on my phone. Click this drop-down menu and choose your device to start. Filmora 9 is now scanning all images and videos on my device. I can click cancel to stop the process and take a look at what have been scanned. Now I can choose what to be imported in this area. For example, Filmora 9 has not scanned my videos on my phone yet. I need to continue the process to import some example footage for editing. Click this icon to scan again. I can choose the device again. I will wait until it's scanned everything on my phone. Here are all the video files on my phone. I will take some clips to use as an example in this case. Being noticed that you can check only the footage you want to import in this area. Click OK to import. These are the media files I have just selected. I can unplug my phone now as all these files are already on my computer. That's how you can easily import media files directly from a camera or a phone into Filmora 9. Here I have already imported some video clips to Filmora Media Library. To start editing video in Filmora 9, you will need to drag and drop your video clips onto the timeline, or hit this plus button at the center of the thumbnail. Let's take this footage as an example. Whenever you drop a clip to the timeline, this pop-up window will appear if the resolution, or frame rate of the source media is different from the project settings. Normally, you can select Keep Project Settings if you don't want to change it. Click here to view everything on your editing timeline. To split the video, put the playhead at the position you want to split, and use this icon. You can also use Ctrl+B shortcut if you're using Windows to split the video. To trim a clip, move your mouse cursor to the end of the clip, drag it to the left or right like this to trim. That's how easily you can split and trim a clip in Filmora 9. Here I am on Filmora 9 editing timeline again. In order to delete anything on the timeline, you can select that part by left mouse click, then hit the delete keyboard on your computer. Alternatively, you can right mouse click on that part, and select delete at the pop-up menu. Right below the delete row is ripple delete option, which is an option for you to delete the part, and move everything on the timeline leftward to fill in that empty space. We will also look into ripple delete option and how to use it properly in this lesson. Firstly, let's select normal delete option. This part of the video is deleted. But everything on the right of this part have just moved leftward on my timeline. That's because of my auto ripple edit option is turned on. Let's undo the delete action by pressing Ctrl+Z and turn off auto ripple edit option so that we can normally delete a part of the clip without moving anything. Click here to turn it off. Now I can delete this part without moving others on the right side. I can also delete this lower third box by selecting it, and delete too. Being mentioned that when using this normal delete feature, you will have an empty gap on the timeline at that position. Normally, you will have to fill up this gap with other clip, image, or delete that empty gap to avoid black screen happening through your video. Okay, let's learn about ripple delete option now. As I mentioned earlier, when editing video, you can turn on this ripple edit icon to change your normal delete action into ripple delete. But, you will need to be careful when to use it because other parts on the timeline will be moved too. The solution for that is to lock all other tracks on the timeline whenever you want to perform delete actions with ripple edit turned on. Now you can delete unwanted parts on a single track without moving other tracks. You can use this trick whenever you want to modify your project after it's edited without worrying about messing it up. For a normal ripple delete action, you can simply turn off this auto ripple edit option, and select ripple delete action at the pop-up menu as usual. This tutorial covers how you can flip, rotate and scale your video clip using Filmora 9. Here I am on the timeline with my example video clip. In order to flip, rotate or scale video clip, you double-click on the video track, select Video tab, then find the Transform tab. Here you have the tool you need. You can flip your clip horizontally, or vertically. Use this slider to rotate your clip. Or put a percentage number here which will give you the same result. You can also click on the preview window, hold this little green dot to rotate the clip too. Alternatively, you can also right-click on the clip, and select Rotate 90 degree at the pop-up menu. To scale your clip, use this slider, or put the number at this box similar to rotating option. Here I have an example clip on the timeline now. In order to crop a clip, firstly select the clip on the timeline, then click this crop and zoom button on top of the timeline. In this pop-up window, you can either crop a video or create zoom and pan effect here. Firstly, let's learn how to use crop tool. Before trying to crop a video, being noticed that you can select an aspect ratio at this drop-down menu. If you're making 16:9 video, don't forget to select that aspect ratio before cropping your video. To crop your video, move your mouse cursor to the edge of this green line, hold your left mouse cursor and resize the screen box to where you want to crop. You can also move the box around the screen too. Click this play button to preview. Hit OK to go back to the editing timeline. Here is the result. To restore the video to the original size, simply split the clip. Then select the crop and zoom tool again. Increase the size of the crop box to cover the whole screen to eliminate recent cropping effect. Then hit OK to go back to the timeline. That's how you can use crop tool in Filmora 9. Let's look at zoom and pan tool now. Zoom and pan tool is as easy to use as the crop tool in Filmora 9. With this feature, you will be able to zoom into a specific part of the video, or image. It also lets you create different kind of video effects depending on your creativity. Firstly, I will drag an example clip onto the timeline. Supposing that I want to zoom into the face of the character in this example. Click this crop and zoom icon again. Click here to switch to zoom and pan tool. Also select 16:9 aspect ratio so that the effect will not affect your video size. Now you have two different color square boxes. This orange one shows the frame where your zoom in effect end. You need to move this box to the face of the character so that your video will start zooming in this area. Similar to cropping video, you can resize this box if you want. You can also move the outside box. If you want to zoom out the video, simply click this little switch button at the corner of the window. I will switch back to see zoom in effect in this example. Click this play button to preview the effect. Now you can see the video is slowly zooming in the face of the character. Let's switch the effect to zooming out to see how it looks. Being mentioned that zooming in and out effect speed in Filmora 9 depends on the duration of your video, or image. If you want to speed up the effect, you will need to shorten the duration of the clip, or image. Once you've done, click OK to go back to the editing timeline. Here I am in Filmora 9 editing timeline with some example green screen clip in the media library. Let's drag and drop one of them on the timeline to use as an example. Select Keep Project Settings as usual. In order to remove the screen background in your video, you will need to use Filmora 9 Chroma key. The first way to do that is to select the clip, right mouse click, and select Green Screen from the pop-up menu. And the second way is to double-click on the clip, find the Video tab at the Effect Control window and check the box Chroma key. Filmora will automatically remove green background by default. However, you can also select this color picker to select a color you want to key out in your video. You can also control the offset, tolerance, edge thickness and edge feather in this area. You can also pull out Chroma key feature by clicking this button of top of the timeline. Once you've keyed out green screen background, you can overlay it on other background video easily. That's how you can remove green screen background in your video using Filmora 9.